Welcome and thank you. You are now tuned in to the greatest podcast to ever bust the West Coast. My name is Ulysses.
My name is Martin.
And we are the late boomers, baby. How you feeling today, Martin?
I'm feeling good. How you feeling today?
Feeling great. No complaints. We're out here, Huntington Beach. Have a pretty cool interview. When we first talked about doing this interview, men's mental health, we were thinking about a guest. Thought maybe we could do like a mental health expert, possibly has like a PhD, something like that. We were kind of like overthinking it. And then one day I was on Instagram and I was like, why not him? Sent the Instagram to Martin, worked his magic, and now we're here. All right. So without further ado, it is our pleasure to introduce the motivational, inspirational, self-discipline, Mr. CEO himself, Julian Miramontes.
What's going on, guys? What's up, man?
Let's go. All right.
How you doing today, Julian?
I'm good. How you feeling?
Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. So why don't we start off telling the viewers what you do, what got you here, what are you thinking currently? It's odd times right now, the pandemic, everything's odd. People are going through some stuff, maybe not, maybe benefiting, maybe suffering a little bit. So what are your 2 cents about this whole situation and how you go about your day-to-day routine and stuff?
Well, right now, I am so I guess a little bit of who I am. I am a huge, just ambitious individual looking to change lives, to put it simply. With these changing times and everything like that, it's a lot of transitions for a lot of people out there. So I think it's just about finding what is able to fit your lifestyle and how you can continue to pursue whatever goals that you have for yourself and continuing to develop yourself over time.
Of course. So also give us a brief synopsis about a little bit about your background and what you do.
So as far as my background and like who I was personally, I was a very introverted kid growing up. I never really meshed with the crowd a lot, and I found myself jumping from multiple schools to pursue basketball. My dream was to make it in the NBA one day. I was heavily into sports growing up, so basketball was my main thing. It was my first love. So I was just heavily invested into sports, and through that kind of transitioned over to mindset and working out and fitness throughout the rest of my life and what I do today. But it was just a building period for myself to discover who I was.
Okay. So we met Julian. What was it, back in 2018?
Fall 18.
Fall 18. We were in the same organization together in college, and off the get-go, I didn't really see him that often at like parties. He was probably just like doing his own thing. He was very disciplined. And I was like, yo, where's Julian at? I was like, yo, he's probably just working out. I don't know, probably like starting a company or some shit.
Yes.
So, that was awesome, man. And actually the last conversation that I had with you, I think it was like beginning of 2020. We were both cooking it up in the kitchen. And we were having a conversation and I was like, so what do you have planned for the future? And you're like, oh, I'm actually going to start a clothing company, fitness company. And I was like, dude, that sounds awesome. Like, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you. And I moved out of San Jose, and his business has only continued to grow exponentially. And I've seen it all happen. We're super proud of you, man. And that's why we chose you to be on the podcast today for men's mental health. So thanks for kickstarting us off, Julian.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm looking forward to it.
So, Julian, just a little outline, a little things we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about a little bit like self-consciousness with like social media, right? Because I know you're pretty invested in that. Thoughts of like rejection or like doubt. And then some things like depression or like anxiety, stuff like that. And then we're going to close it off with like maybe challenges or questions you want to give off to the viewers to like maybe maintain their mental health, or what could get them through a day that's kind of gloomy or some sort of like that.
Which question would you want to start off?
All right, let's start with the first question. So I know So a little background about Julian. Julian started a company. You want to give a little thing about that, like what company is about, what it's for?
Yeah. So my company brand name is Next Level, and it's all about the achievement of your highest self every single day, right? I started it with a passion for fitness and fashion, and I thought, why not combine it into one together? I also was heavily interested in like entrepreneurship and business and things like that.
Was
So
that
that
your major in college?
it was business administration with a focus in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So but growing up, it started though from like basketball. So again, through my pursuit to like my wildest dreams of getting in the NBA, I got into like an ankle injury, which kind of like changed the course of my goals for myself, right? And so through that, and the next thing I knew was kind of fitness. And so through that, I kind of like developed a love for fitness, the ability to change your body through just pure dedication and consistency, right? Again, I gained a lot of inspiration from a lot of other like lifters and things like that, and people who've started businesses. So I've always been in that realm. And then I thought, why not create something where people who are invested in mindset, invested in fitness, because they overlap one another, right? Getting in the gym is getting into a mindset of its own. So, I just formulated a plan to be able to execute that. And so, Next Level represents or acts as a reflection of yourself, of your greatest self. And it's funny that the name and the logo are all cohesive with one another. So, I just wanted to be able to provide kind of a mirror for people out there to understand that, their next level is achievable and walking with them, alongside every single day, right? This brand is a hybrid brand, so it's something you can wear in the gym and outside.
Lifestyle type of brand. Yeah, I mean, it's super comfy, man. And I was honestly very surprised, like how comfortable the materials. And we're proud of you, man. And also, one thing that I wanted to ask you. So, when you were first starting your, brand, what were like some of the first steps that you took, in order to create that? You said that your brand represents like, people trying to, essentially level themselves up in terms of like physical, lifestyle, and etc. Was that the first thing that you did? Was just think of like the idea behind it, or were you just like started getting to work on like a logo?
Yeah. So first I wanted to see what kind of impact can I make, right? And then growing up, I had a huge inspiration from a lot of motivational speakers out there. They inspired me to take action, and the feeling that I got from watching like a motivational video, that a feeling of like empowerment, the goosebumps that run through your body. I became addicted to that feeling, and I wanted to put that inside of other people's lives as much as I possibly could.
Kind of like feel the same way that you were feeling.
Exactly. So, through over time, I kind of like sat down and tried to figure out what kind of identity I could make for this brand, rather than just making it a basic clothing brand. And so I first started with the mission, the purpose of it, and then eventually, started the name and the logo. And it took me a long time. Getting advice from like other people and like parents and stuff like that. Everybody would tell me, just throw a name out there, just throw a logo out there. Everybody else does that, and then you build the reputation of it. But then I thought to myself, I was like, well, this is where I can create the difference between myself and this brand and everybody else's. If I make the name, the logo, the motto of the brand all cohesive with one another, it will make sense.
And it starts with the mission, man.
Exactly. And so like the feeling, it's about the feeling you get in the name. So I try to take over the words next level completely, so that when you say like, okay, for example, another brand out there, like, let's take Nike. They're big enough to get some punches from me. So Nike, right? When you say, the word Nike, I mean, nobody really understands what that means. And and the only way I can really get this brand into your mind, right, is to either show you the product physically or say the product name, right? Nike this or whatever, right? So I thought, why not I just take over these two words in the English dictionary, that when people say the name of the brand, even unintentionally, there's a chance it'll pop in their mind. So obviously that comes with time of getting brand recognition from everybody. But like, as time goes on, if we're like saying, hey, next level, let's take this to the next level or whatever, there's chances are, maybe not the first time, second, but maybe the third time, the brand just starts to become, a part of everybody's lives slowly. You know what I'm saying?
I wanna go back to like the beginning of this, where this started. So I know you were 2 years younger than us in school. So obviously you had to. Are you still going to school, or like what's happening?
Yeah. So I ended up completely dropping out of school during my 4th year, and anybody realistically would be like, let's just finish.
What are you doing?
You were a 4th year? I didn't even know he was a 4th year. I thought you were like a 2nd year.
No, yeah. So my 4th year completely dropped out. Because the thing was, what I began to realize is, a big motivator is like, we only get one chance to do this thing, right? We only get one shot at this life, right? And so, while getting advice from everybody is cool, at the same time, they don't understand the passion that you feel for these things, right? So for like the podcast, for example, or anything else. And so I would get a lot of advice from everybody else saying, hey, just finish through, just go through the pain and everything. But how you do one thing is how you do everything, So if I'm just going to ride this out and just let myself suffer, over time.
Just for a backup plan.
Exactly. Then, why, if I'm going to let myself suffer through this, right, then, what's the point? Because if I'm going to do that, and at the end of the day, I'm trying to please others, is what I'm trying to say, right? So like whether it's parents, cousin, close friends or something like that. And I understood, I have this passion for this thing. I'm going to go out and do it. And I just went for it, because this is the one thing that makes us happy, made me happy at that point. But again, it was a big thing was, I remember walked into class and I looked at this girl who was like drunk asleep.
Yeah, in college. Yeah. That's how it is in college.
Exactly. But then I was like, you know what, if she's, asleep or whatever, and I'm like trying to pay attention, then how valuable is this piece of paper really, right? If everybody's getting it. So, with that being said, I took all things into consideration, understood the sacrifices I would be making. But again, it was just trying to impact as much people as possible. Yeah. And this is what I felt my calling was.
Wow. So when you said that you got like, second opinions or 2 cents from other people and like family and friends, what will your parents think about dropping out? I have traditional parents, so I mean that's a tough cookie to sell.
That must have taken a lot of bravery, man. Like that's why I finished college too, and with the idea of like kind of just having that backup plan. So like Martin said, and how did it feel? I
would have been like, yeah, I'm still going to school, but I mean, low key, I was still doing some stuff on this. Yeah, I would have just lied.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard. It was hard, at first, because it's like a non-traditional thing that I'm trying to make a clothing brand, But at the same time, it was, and the crazy thing was I could have been the first one of my family to graduate first.
Even tougher, yeah.
Wow.
And it would have been cool to have that title, but at the same time, it's like, okay, in a couple of years, like, I even played the scenario in my mind, like, again, in a couple of years, even if I get this degree, right, what am I still going to be doing? I'm still going to be pursuing the same thing. Yeah. The flex might be cool, but nobody's going to really care after a while. And
that's where that's where a lot of college students are facing today, where like they graduate and honestly they're not getting paid a lot, or they work in jobs that have nothing to do with what their degree was.
Exactly. My girlfriend got a tattoo, and the person who was doing it, they got to talking for a while, and the girl ended up like majoring in like finance. And she's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, this is my passion though. And she was like, you dedicated 4 years of your life. Because again, I mean, there's no shame to school, but for entrepreneurship, I just feel like it's not it. Because again, you're in the confined walls of what they tell you to do. And you're in a grading system where it's like, okay, you are identified as smart if you can just do this.
Get a good grade on a test.
Exactly. And it's just regurgitating information, right? You take in information and it's based on how well you can get that information, keep it in your brain, throw it up on a test, and then forget it for the next one. Yeah. So, me trying to create this thing, I just understood, and I was working a full-time job, going to school, obviously in the fraternity and everything like that. And it was just like my time was just slipping away because I had to dedicate it all to, these other things.
Would you say your mental health was a lot better when you're balancing school and like your passion for clothing brand and lifestyle, or would you say focusing everything on the clothing brand lifestyle was like that just thing solely? Were you just like all eggs in one basket? Were you more happy per se, or what was your whole intent for this? Like, did you just want to be more happy, or did you just want to like not waste time? What was your thought process of that?
You know, I think I was just plain and simple happier, because at the end of the day, I was doing what I wanted to do. You know, I was creating, I was building, I was impacting, you know, a couple of people here and there, and it felt amazing. Mm-hmm. Not for myself to be, you know, like the star of the show and be like, oh, I'm doing all this stuff, like, you know, go me. It was more of just like, it's amazing to be able to give people this feeling in themselves that they can actually make something of themselves, right? They can discover their gift, you know, or whatever it may be.
So you were like just gravitated towards like this lifestyle, and like, you know what, a lot of the times, like, you know, some people can handle prolonged suffering in college like us, but some people are like, you know what, I don't want to do this. For me, it's a waste of time. And you know, I'm glad that you were able to like process that information and make a decision, and that takes a lot of courage and bravery, man. So we applaud you for that. Yeah, of course. So I want to get into like, you know, more into you a little bit in like a smaller scale, you know, because a lot of the times people are like, yo, they want to change the world, they want to do a whole bunch of things that are like out of their reach. And I preach a lot of times, like it's all about starting small, if not smaller, like fixing little things that you do in the beginning, right when your eyes open up in the morning. Little things that you do in the morning could fix your entire day, and in the longer term, you know, like affect your entire career. So what are some short-term goals that help you achieve peace of mind and, you know, get you ready to take on the day and as well as your business ventures?
Yeah, I think if you're able to master the morning, you can master your day, right? So it all, for myself, it starts in the morning. I make sure that I plan my day in advance, and you know, from every hour, whatever it is, you know, yeah. I'm at least trying to think of things that I can do to be able to progress in whatever it is. And you don't have to fill things all the time. Most people, you know, the thing is, most people think being productive is being busy. It's actually not. I mean, you can be doing a bunch of stuff throughout the day that is meaningless, right? So, you know, I try to make sure that I put things into my schedule that actually I can, you know, follow through on. I don't want to jam pack my schedule, but say if I don't make it through, I just transfer it over to the next day. But again, it all starts in the morning. So I make sure that, you know, I wake up. A big key that's been helping me is I don't touch my phone in the morning anymore for 30 minutes straight.
Hear that, guys? Don't touch your phone.
That's hard for me.
No Instagram, because I can go either two ways. You can go on your phone, see sometimes I'll go on my phone, like I'm guilty of it. I go on my phone, I look at something, and it could either motivate me and I'll get out of bed like, oh, this is cool, like I'll motivate me. Or it could be some news that you see on TV that just gonna bring your whole mood down. So it's like you're gambling then. So I would say, like you said, eliminate the phone in the morning.
I have a horrible morning routine. You know, I wake up. It's horrible. I wake up. Let's say I gotta wake up at like 7, right? I go on 7. First thing I do.
It's pretty early though.
We pull the freaking the notification thing down, right? You see sports, you read little sports. Social media, that's number 1.
Oh,
right?
God.
Social, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever you gotta do, and then online dating.
Tinder.
I gotta check that.
That's like the worst thing, and like that's a negative thing that you see.
It's horrible.
I mean, it's positive if you have like a match in the morning, but most cases you're not gonna wake up with like a match or a message.
Yeah, definitely not for me. Most of the time it's a no go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's email, and then even worse, it's like 7:15, 7:30 by the time. Put my phone back down, snooze for another 30 minutes.
Oh my God!
And then I'll wake up at 8, and then I'll get my day going.
Most people think like we start perfect. Like nobody's born perfect. Like, you know, just because you see these like big CEOs or people who are doing it great on Instagram, like these highlight reels, right? Nobody's perfect. So I started, you know, checking my phone in the morning, you know, whatever it was, apps, you know, all this stuff, text messages, emails, everything like that. The thing is like when you look at the phone, it's something you always have to react to. And usually those things are more on the negative side. more than anything. And so again, it just allows my mind to like, okay, calm, wake itself up properly, not just be distracted.
Be stressed in the morning, looking at emails and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Morning. So I wake up, my phone's, I also put my alarm across the room, right? It's so important because
You have to get up and like go turn it off. That's a good tactic.
it's less likely, that you're going to come back into bed.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a beeping across the room. So
Do you take naps during the day?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. But I make sure that again, my sleep is good enough for myself. Yeah.
No.
So and I make sure that I try to like gauge how I am actively throughout the day. If I notice, okay, I'm kind of like falling asleep in my chair more often than not, I'm like, okay, that's recovery, right? But yeah, so I'll wake up, I'll hit the light turns on. The phone's across the room. I'll go turn it off. I'll go in the restroom. Wash up, do everything I gotta do.
So wait, you have a face of like a regimen that you do in the morning, skincare, because your skin looks good, bro.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So we want to know about that. We want to know the secrets.
Yeah. So I try to. The key thing is if you wash your face too much, you dry your skin out, and so your natural oils are gonna come out, and that's gonna make yourself break out and everything like that. But I take care of myself in the morning. I make sure that I go to the gym early. That's the first thing I do. Doing the hardest thing first in the day is very, very important because now you can create these small little achievements that will activate throughout your entire day. Yeah. So I'll do the hardest thing, which is again waking up and going straight to the gym.
Or just waking up in general. For me, yeah.
Even that. Yeah. So, and then one thing, and this is a funny little thing that I've been actually starting to do. I haven't even told you guys beforehand. But in the morning, I picked this up. I picked this up from a woman by the name of Mel Robbins, right? And so this is high-fiving yourself in the mirror. And the reason, because there's a deeper meaning to that, right? So and it's usually the last thing I do before I leave the bathroom, right? And this kind of ties into like, we may segue a little bit later into just building confidence for yourself, building belief in yourself. Yeah. Because what's the first thing we do when we celebrate anything? We high five each other, at a game or whatever it is, right? And when you begin to do that, you start to anticipate your reflection in the mirror, right? I'm sure all three of us, if we were to see an identical, clone of ourselves in a crowd, we wouldn't be able to recognize it, right? Because the thing is, we never take the time to appreciate ourselves in the morning.
Because we're always trying to satisfy other people throughout the day. And like, if you don't have your own, like, not everyone has their own company. It's like you put most of your effort into a job where you're trying to satisfy other people and people don't put enough love and self-care into their own lives.
Right, so acknowledge yourself, celebrate yourself first. That will, and I think there was a study done by Harvard where if you take at least 3 minutes in the morning to intentionally set your day, you're much more likely to have a successful result than if you were to just go about your day, just haphazardly, basically just, doing your thing, doing whatever. So I make sure I plan my days. I make sure I wake up. I like to wake up early in the morning, so I wake up at 5. And then I make sure that I get to the gym by like 5:15, 5:30. And again, I just get those things out of the way,
early.
Done, But again, so I'll brush my teeth, do all that stuff, high five myself in the mirror, and then I'll
like actually just high five.
I'll tap the mirror, bro. I'll tap the mirror because yeah, exactly. Because the thing is again, like when we're celebrating things, right? We get that drip of dopamine in our mind.
Yeah. People are celebrating you. You're like, wow, like, this is amazing.
Exactly. And so when you're able to like look at yourself, intentionally set your day, okay, let's do it. Boom. And that's it. Damn. You train your mind to begin to anticipate your reflection. In the morning, you become excited slowly because like, hey, okay, let's get after today. You know what I'm saying?
Not a lot of people do that, man. People like probably look in the mirror and be like, you look disgusting.
Exactly. And there's a book on it. I don't know what the book name is, but it's by Mel Robbins, and she teaches that whole thing. There's a whole science by her. It's awesome. Wow.
I've been investing. I think it's been going on 3 years now. I love little like agenda booklets. So like it'll map out your week, and like it's just because I get a little anxiety if I got like 5 things to do, and like the night before I'll go ahead and sit down maybe 30 minutes before I go to bed, quickly jot down what I gotta do. I remember I used to in college. I remember we came up from the bar and I was like, holy shit, I haven't written down my agenda, and we're about to go drink some more. And I was like, hold up, just like all drunk. I was like, hold on, let me pull out. I pull out my backpack, and then my friend was like there. She's like, what are you doing? You gotta go. And I was like, hold on, I gotta put this down. I get a little anxious, Oh, I got a quiz, study. Yeah. And it's been 3 years. I mean, it's worked nicely. It's definitely because I get anxiety just because like I gotta do A, B, C, and D, and I was like, I don't know which one to start. I don't know what I should do first. I don't know how I should do it. I don't know when I should do it. But just seeing it and writing it down, you're just like, all right, I could do maybe 7 a.m. 8 a.m.
And that ties into like I preached in the last video. Like if whether you're going out with your friends to do something like celebrating or just drinking in general, having a good time, or going out on a date, I always say, make sure that you finish everything before you go out with your friends, before you go out on a date.
Chickens are right.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because like you can't be going out and like you have to be present in the moment. That's what I'm saying. So that's all I gotta say about that.
I want to start talking about a little bit. Have you this process of you? I mean, dropping out has a bad connotation. I want to say just putting all your eggs in one basket. Have you dealt with any stress or any doubt and anxiety or even depression along the way of maybe I might not be able to do this? I dropped out for the wrong reason. Maybe I got to go back to school. Like I made a big mistake.
Right. Yeah. I think doing anything like ambitious comes with a lot of doubt, right? Especially because the thing is like when we get input from other people, they don't really understand the passion we have behind these things. Yeah. Like, say you wanted to like, make this podcast in like a full-fledged thing and like be this main thing. Like, it's not traditional stuff, You usually go to school, you go work for a nice company. I'm trying to be the owner of that company, right? I'm not trying to go that route. Yeah. And again, some people it's through school and things like that, which is great. But yes, I did encounter a lot of doubt early on.
What are some doubts you've had?
Well, it's just like, like basically like you said, should I go back to school? Like, can I do this? There's sleepless nights where I'm just thinking about like, am I going to make enough to pull through this month? And
you don't have a side gig. You're only doing this too to get your rent in too. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's my main thing, And so, through all this doubt, I just fell back on one thing, which was the reason why I'm doing this, right? And so that's why I feel like everybody should create a why they are choosing to make themselves better, right? Who are the people they're doing it for, right? Whether it's like I'm trying to build up my family, build a life for my family, whatever, impact other people. So when you find your why in life, you're able to constantly lean on that because it reminds you.
When you face doubt or anything.
Exactly, when you face doubt and all those things, right? But yeah, there's a lot of low points for myself, lack of confidence, and just thinking I wasn't able to pull through on what I was doing. And again, through that, I just took the time to like, okay, let's calm down. Another Mel Robbins thing is when you're in a negative state of mind, when you count back from 5, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, okay, let's switch our mindset. It interrupts the 5-second rule. It interrupts your flow completely. And so it's like, say you're like come in the room and like you're upset at like, whoever it is, a friend, girlfriend, whatever. You just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm good. You don't think about it. You don't think about it. You just transition forward. And so again, it's not like you're kind of like belittling your problems or not facing them, but at the same time, you're able to transition to a more positive state. And, remind yourself of your why, continue that flow. And
still get that work done in a more positive mindset. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like people come home, from a long day of work, you come in there and then like...
It's kind of gloomy.
Yeah, kind of gloomy. And like your gloominess kind of like starts like spreading around and no one's going to be happy around you. So I think that's a really good tip to give, count back from 5 and just switch your mindset when you're having these, negative emotions setting in. And that's like times 10 when you're a content creator, whether you're owning your own business, like you're creating something. So you get that pretty often. I get it. Me and Martin get it because, it's just a full-fledged like interview. So we think about it sometimes. I look back at the tapes and I'm like, ooh, I could have said that a little bit better. But like you said, you got to just keep rolling on. Remember why you do it. And ask yourself those important questions.
Talking about
Thank
like anxiety and a little bit stuff like that, depression. Do you have? I know right now men's health is kind of like fairly on main topic, right? Don't get me wrong, female health as well. I know there was a bad connotation maybe a couple of years ago getting a therapist, a psychotherapist about things like that. Do you have one? I know now it's looked upon as a good thing now. Have you ever thought about getting one, or have you gotten one, or is your girlfriend like your therapist now, or like how does that go?
Yeah, I mean, so myself, I haven't gotten one. Yeah, so I've experienced therapy through other people and seeing like how close family members go to them or something like that. I definitely support it. I think being able to find someone you're able to like express yourself completely to is great. We all have these feelings inside. We have problems we have to deal with, demons we have to face. The more we're able to face that and bring that out of ourselves instead of buried within, the better completely. So I definitely support being able to get some further help for yourself, because we all start from somewhere. Not everybody can face it themselves. Not everybody can take the time. I spent since I was like 14 years old in motivation and personal development. That whole journey started way back, then. And it's like, almost 10 years later, 9-10 years later, it's like now I'm able to kind of like handle things myself. But it all starts from, everybody starts from zero. Yeah. So, I think the way we're able to fully express ourselves, or in whichever way, is definitely the best. Whether it's finding somebody, friends, family, a therapist.
Right.
Yeah.
I think therapy is very important, because like you can go up to a friend, like a good friend, of like, I got something to say, or like sometimes friends can't really baggage the whole like, hey, I got something to tell you, and give them this whole weight, and then both of you guys just be like, oh shit, Whereas I think therapy is like, they can like kind of do it like in a conventional way and tell you why and how you should go along with it, unpack it with you. Because sometimes like we're fairly young, but I mean, I feel like this whole change of scenery, like working from home, and just maybe not working at all,
really
can change
affected
people mentally, right?
really
So
bad. Yeah,
it's not the
alcoholism,
whole conventional thing.
like alcoholism and like these negative coping mechanisms spiked up during the pandemic. So I think, like Julian said, it's always good to, before you start like outsourcing in terms of like a therapist and stuff like that, like I said, try smaller things, like, having a routine in the morning, going to the gym. I can't preach this enough. Like going to the gym and being healthy, whether it be running, lifting weights,
Anything
aerobics, dancing, whatever your thing is, that can already just improve your mental health right there. Yeah, right. In regards to like, in comparison to like, these coping mechanisms that are really negative, such as like alcohol, people smoking weed, pornography, even, and all that stuff. So yeah,
definitely, man, definitely. A lot of our males in general are expected to hold themselves back, because it's like weak, right? It's whether it's like your ego or something like that. But the more we're able to face all of those things, open up more, the better for our mental health, and we're able to just perform overall.
I know a lot of like dads would be like, oh, why you crying?
Traditional dads.
Why you crying?
Like my dad, your dad.
I can make you something. I can make you cry. Like, that's a traditional dad.
Yeah.
But I feel like now like things are being a little more progressive and stuff, and which is good. Now therapists are sought out to be as a positive thing and viewed as something strong for males to like face their own per se demons.
Yeah. Be aware of it. That doesn't mean like go out there and just cry for everything, but in front of people. But what we mean is like, be aware that these emotions are valid. They're real. They're theirs, and you have to take the proper steps in order to get better.
Right.
So yeah, that's awesome, guys.
Have you? So what are one of we've gone rejected, plenty, because like me and you are trying to get into the medical field and stuff like that, and school rejections are
Girl rejections too.
Girl rejections, 100%. You know, I take L's all the time.
Oh yeah.
But like, what are some of your rejections you see like that you've been trying to get over the hump recently or have gone over the hump?
And it can be any rejection, like.
Yeah, you know, I mean, rejections for myself. I think sometimes it can be, I mean, ourselves rejecting ourselves, whether it's not being able to acknowledge our own wins, or we don't think we deserve certain things. And again, that falls into like low confidence and all that stuff.
Do you get imposter syndrome?
At first I did, you know, a little bit. Transitioned through it though, because once we're able to find like our identity and who we define ourselves as completely, you know, and the things that we tolerate within ourselves, the more we're able to find, you know, that passion and find that confidence in ourselves and build ourselves up, right? I mean, I feel like, you know, our identity plays a role in everything. And it kind of acts as like a thermostat in the room almost. If we're like set at 80 degrees or something like that, if I'm an 80 degreer, say, you know, and I have an 80 degrees.
It's hot.
You're 8 out of 10.
That's hot.
You know, so, but then you guys are like 110, right? For myself, you know, there's a quote by Malcolm X that's that by which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. And so it's like these things, these actions, these characteristics about ourselves, if we don't hate it and we don't want to improve from it, we'll just tolerate it. Exactly. It'll define who we are. Yeah. So, you know, say I'm like set as an 80 degree or whatever, you know, like a thermostat in a house, the coldest winds of life can come through, you know, but the heater will kick on and I'll find a way to be able to take myself back up to 80 degrees. Right? But say I'm experiencing great successes in life and you know, I'm on fire all the time, you know, hotter, some way or another, I myself will find a way to get myself back down to 80 degrees.
Keep yourself a little grounded. Like don't make decisions like when you're too happy, but also don't make bad decisions when you're desperate.
Exactly. But I think at the same time, like, you know, this is for people who, you know, like say the people out there who are set at 40 degrees, like they feel like no matter what great things go on in our life, I'm still not worth it. That, you know, that's the thing. It's like no matter what, you'll always bring yourself back down. And, you know, the way that falls into a deeper part of identity and what we tolerate of ourselves, you know, and who we associate ourselves with. If I want to eventually grow myself to become 110 degreer, right, in life and maximize my potential, I need to hang around other people who are set at that you know, level. Yeah. And eventually I will find a way to get myself from 80 and 110 somewhere in between. And you know, another way is to be able to do things that are uncomfortable in a sharp and short period of time so that you get used to pushing yourself consistently, right? And again, you fall back on those achievements and you are able to build self-confidence and it just goes and you know, stacks on top of each other.
Exactly. Like guys, like do something different throughout your day. Don't let it just be this mundane life that you live where you just go to work, go home, eat the same thing, repeat the process. Like, I don't know, if you're at a grocery store, like this, you know, cuties like literally take like they scan your things, spark a conversation with her. Or like if you decide like, hey, that might be a cool place to like go on a jog or something, go to that jog or work out or like just do little things throughout your day that's gonna help you like get uncomfortable, you know? Because those are all things that are going to help us in the longer run.
Do you think it's kind of scary a little bit?
Being uncomfortable?
Yeah, do you think it's kind of scary a little
dude,
bit?
It's scary. But I mean, like for instance, like going to college, Martin and I, it's why we named the podcast The Late Bloomers. Is because, you know, we spent, 3 years? 2.5 years in community college right after high school. So, you know, we were going to school and it felt mundane. Like, okay, I'm just going to work, I'm going to school. I'm still seeing my parents every single day. And everything's just being handed to me. Everything's like, my mom's doing my laundry. My mom's washing the dishes. She's cooking for me. She's literally making my bed in the morning. And it's going to sound sad, but when I was 21, my mom would wake me up every day. She was my alarm. She was literally everything. And then I had it all. And I was like, I thought to myself, like, this is not the way someone is supposed to live. And I call it like being like Batman, because if you think about it, Batman had all these riches in life. Bruce Wayne Enterprises, he had everything, but he decided to leave the shelter and then, you know, go do what Batman does. And when we went to college, you know, it was 3 years later. We were 21 years old when we got there. You know, people were like 18, so we felt like we're kind of late to the party. So we had to like adjust to that lifestyle, learn how to cook, be uncomfortable all the time until, like, you know, you just get better every single day. And, you know, you get out of your shell.
You became used to it.
Exactly. And I needed to, and after college as well, I was like, man, I was so social in college. We were so social. We used to talk to all these people. I need to bring that creative spark back. I need to get uncomfortable again. So that's why let's start a podcast. And that's what helped me getting out of my shell again. And I want to continue to do that. And yeah, take those tips.
So what are some of like the fundamental pillars for you to have a good mental health? If you were to like say the ideal day, like you said, you make your bed and high five, right? What are like some mental pillars you have in your head? Like, oh, I got to do A, B, and C, and D. Right. For me, it's like you said, like something physical and exhausting for the day, just because like you're kind of more relaxed, right? That's for me. And then I'll go on. First thing I gotta do is something hard, like maybe I gotta turn in a test or do an interview with someone or like that. What are some pillars that you go by that are like you have to do this to have an excellent day, or have even a good mental health in general?
Yeah, well, you know, I think there's steps to improving, you know, obviously your mental health and things like that. I think it begins with like repetition and consistency in the beginning. One more of like characteristics in terms of pillars are, you know, definitely gratitude. You know, daily. I try to visit gratitude every single day.
I'm not good at that yet.
You know, and it's like, because the thing, and again, I wasn't in the beginning, right? I mean, because we're so used to like getting all of these amenities of whatever's just given to us, right?
Like I should have this.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the more we're able to understand, like, okay, there's people out there who don't have as much as I have. Like, I'm grateful to be able to be born here, to have this opportunity to do whatever it is. If we're able to visit gratitude, it puts us in a new perspective of life, where it's like everything we do is with a little bit more passion, right? It's a little bit more positive. You know, we greet people in a little bit of a better way. And so gratitude is a big thing. I think hunger, you know, hunger for more, to be driven is very important. But, you know, I think it's hard to like, okay, so the fundamentals of like mental health.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, so for at least myself is definitely drive, you know, gratitude. Number one, actually, gratitude above everything.
Count your blessings.
Exactly, because, you know, eventually it'll all be taken away, right?
True.
You know, but gratitude, drive, positivity, and I think the last one, if I had to choose, it would be curiosity. Okay. Being able to understand, like, hey, you know, I want to continuously improve or learn these things, right? Having a curiosity for how things work. You know, how does the brain work? You know, how am I able to work with myself? You know, constantly taking in information is great. But at the same time, we got to make sure that we're not stuck in that flow of consistent, just like absorbing. We have to.
Yeah, exactly. Execution
is another good one.
Embrace the unknown.
And then, so what are things that like knock you off those things? Like, what are things that you like, oh, like maybe like a bad diet for a weekend?
Or some
like,
things that you avoid too. Like, do you avoid consumption of alcohol?
So I'm not a huge drinker or smoker. I mean, that's just me personally. But, you know, I think some things that knock myself off sometimes is like, you know, maybe a day doesn't go so well, right? And we get thrown tests of life, you know, like earlier, right? So, you know, it's just, you know, some stuff happens, right? And you know, these things can easily take us off course. You know, we're not on it 110% every single day, right? We fall into bad habits. We fall out of routine sometimes. You know, we have to like go visit family or something, and we're not in our same environment all the time. So we're never at 110% all of the time, every single day. But I think some things that knocked me off in the beginning was definitely the failures of life, right?
Yes. Inconveniences as well. Oh God.
Like all the tests that we had today.
Yeah.
Because again, these things are like, they'll stack on each other, and we'll just bottle it up, and then eventually you'll like be out with somebody and blow it up all on them, and they're like, what is going on? So it's definitely those things in the beginning, but eventually, like anything, you start small, you start to build, the perspective of, these like characteristics you hold close to yourself, right? So you start to instill those in yourself, whether it's, again, gratitude, whatever, and you start to slowly morph yourself, and you build these calluses on your mind that, when a failure comes, okay, instead of it being a failure, it's a lesson to yourself, right? You learn from these things, right? And that was a big thing, understanding that in the beginning. When I failed at starting, a business or doing a launch that I didn't think would be as, bad as it was, or whatever it is, right? Bad grade on a test, anything, these are lessons. We only get lessons.
Turn your L's into lessons.
Exactly. So, and then you improve on it, and you learn, you take those pieces of information, understand, okay, the world is not over. We're still here. Let's go take this information and apply it in the best way we can moving forward, So it's and all these little things are all perspective shifts, right? If you're able to just look at it from a different lens, instead of just being internal all the time and just like, oh my gosh, my life sucks. Why is this happening to me? Of course it's me. Of course me. Everything is me.
That's the worst.
And that's that's also selfish it's the selfish on its own too. Like, it's not all about you. Like, think about why you're doing this. Like you said,
Right.
you want to help other people and all that.
Exactly.
Wow.
So falling back on those things will definitely help. It'll snap yourself out of it. Again, there's tons of like these little things out there. The 5-second rule. Falling back on your why to snap out of it. All these things. But when you create that perspective change and you look at things from a different lens, my life isn't over. I still am here. I still have these things. I still have a roof over my head. I still have food at the end of the day. You have to be really like definite almost, with the things that you have in your life, because we overlook them so often, and we brush those things off. And I think there was a story by this man. His name is Ed Milet. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he was explaining how he was able to like change the rest of his life. He met with a friend, and they were sitting at like a table like this, and one of the friends asked him, what can you think of anything you can be grateful for? And it was like, nothing, nothing, jack shit. Like, I can't think of anything. And then out of nowhere, they were outside eating at, like, say, a Starbucks, for example. This couple of ladies, they were fighting cancer, walk right by him, and they smiled directly in his face, happy, positive, give positive energy, right? They're both, losing their hair in a bad, state at the time. And the friend was like, that, did you see that? That's pretty pathetic. So you can't think of anything you can be grateful for, right? And that moment completely changed, his life. And we have those things. We have to recognize those things. And so that lesson there is like, we have to be very, very specific, and we stack gratitude. We stack gratitude. We stack what we're grateful for, what things we have in our lives, what we have access to. I mean, this podcast, the fact that you guys are doing this right now is a blessing to so many other people, because you're providing them an opportunity where they can like take this information, like maybe, 1 or 2 people will take this and internalize it completely. And that's 1 life, 2, and eventually, continues to compound over time.
Yeah, man. You can't change the world unless you change a couple of little worlds.
Exactly.
Even changing one person's world is going to be enough for me.
Exactly. Even yourself. It begins with yourself. I have had these crazy down times in my life where I was in a hospital. I was on 4 liters of oxygen. I got surgery. And at that time, I was like, so I was heavily into fitness, right? And I was like lifting weights, it was just all back down to ground zero. And I was like, how am I going to get out of this, right? You know, I was on the hospital bed, and you know, what we easily like to do is why me, why this, why that, you know. And I just sat for a second and understood, you know, what's done is done. We have to, you know, we have to focus on what we can control. And once we focus on what the things we can control in life, our whole aura about ourselves will change. We like to control all these crazy things out there and feel like just because these inconveniences happen in our life, like it's supposed to happen to me, my bad luck. I always attract these negative things, right? When we focus on what we can control, our perspective changes again. And we can now, you know, act in a place of gratitude, those pillars that we stack, gratitude, you know, reminding yourself that you have people who love you or whatever it is.
Relationships, you know. That's another pillar.
Exactly. You know, so again, when we're able to identify who we are, what things we tolerate, do we tolerate negative talk towards ourselves, right? If we don't hate it enough, it'll just be something we're just accepting. Oh, it's who I am. It's just how I am, right? And you start to allow it become part of you. And then you begin to act out into the real world as somebody who is just talking bad about yourself is just something you are, right? Not following through on things is just a part of you, you know? Yeah. And, you know, so if we're able to, again, it's identity.
I've been like, I used to be like, oh, like I'll talk bad about myself like here and there just like for a joke, but like it actually compounds and like it like inside, like you'd be like, yeah, I'm actually like that.
Yeah.
So like that, like I stopped doing that recently and like stopped saying like negative jokes about me or someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like because like actually in reality, like it does affect you and like it does become true. You hear about the study? I don't know if it's a study. I don't know if it's backed up or anything, but they were saying like how if you, this sounds insane, but if you talk,
is it the plant one?
Talk good to your plant, plant,
talk good to your plant,
or even water.
I don't even own a plant.
Like, I'll get you a plant.
Give me a plant, please.
And then if you talk good to your plant, it grows well.
Really?
But like if you talk bad to the plant, it doesn't do as well.
But who would talk bad to a plant? That's kind of messed up. Like, fuck you, plant.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there.
Yeah, and it's bad because like when the rejection adds up in someone's life, and the rejection, this negative self-talk, they're gonna start projecting that in like a negative way to others. Like when you go across somebody in like a grocery store and you can just straight up tell by their attitude they're just miserable. Like, and it's I feel almost sorry for them because like for you to treat someone else like that, like there must be some like underlying factors in there that you need to sort out. And like you said, it's all about like reassuring yourself, like making sure that you believe in yourself before you take on life's challenges, because it's hard. Life's hard, man.
We're a product of our habits and rituals we create within our lives. You know what I'm saying? So if you're used to all this negative talk and stuff like that, and like you said, you were able to catch it early on. That's something I changed about myself too. It's like, I'm gonna stop joking negatively about myself in front of other people, right? Because it's not like it starts to become in our subconscious mind.
You project on yourself.
Exactly. And then when these hard times come, you're like, oh, I really am that. I've proven to myself how terrible I am, right? It's so, and again, it's those small things that we don't notice that make a huge impact, right? The reason why you could have made this podcast is because you made that change, right? And a bunch of other changes too. But it's those small things, like you said before, start very, very small on yourself to build yourself up, I mean, so what we're talking about and what we're covering like today is like a lot of different topics. But I think if you're able to first identify what is one thing I can change in a positive way today and commit to for maybe a week, 30 days, what is that one thing I can change? And then after you complete that, you step on to the next one, and then you step on to the next one. And it's a journey, right, throughout life. It's a journey of improvement, constant improvement. And then it becomes just a part of who you are, and you're able to just spew that information, that positivity every single day.
You literally radiate that like energy. Like people who are like on this like self-improvement wave and like they're like taking care of themselves, their energy literally radiates from like, and you can like, those are people that you want to be around.
Those
are
are
people that you want to work
around.
with, you know, and people are going to want to work with you. And that takes me into the next topic. It's about relationships. Like you can't, I mean, we've been talking a lot about doing things alone, like dealing with your own inner, like, you know, self-talk and stuff like that. But let's not forget that everybody needs a team. You can't do everything alone. Your company, when you first started, you had to like, you know, outsource. You got to talk to like people around you. You know, you're in a relationship. I'm sure like she supports you 100%. So yeah, that's another thing, man. Like have a team. I can't do this without Martin. We couldn't do it without our friends who helped me make us the logo and all that stuff. So, you know, like,
yeah, some of that self-made stuff, it's only part truth, because like if we can get anywhere in life, right, we need relationships. We need positive relationships. We need people we can rely on, to be able to help propel us, you know, as a unit further. We can't do everything ourselves. We're just going to drive ourselves crazy. Like there's so many things, like even like in my business that I have to like take care of. I'm like, all right, I need who are the people that I can find that can add value to this movement, right, and we can grow each other, you know, exponentially, you know. And that's kind of where you surround yourself with positive people, because when you transition your environment, right, there's a saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? The 5 people you hang around the most,
I've heard that before,
you know, you become the average of, right? And so it's very important that our environment and the people we interact with on a daily basis are impacting ourselves in a positive way. And that's not that we're just like taking from them. We have to add value too, right? It's not a one-way street, you know what I'm saying? So it's all growing in unity. And a lot of people out there, I feel like, you know, there's
everything alone.
Yeah, and then again, it kind of drives you into that hole. I mean, so many businesses fail if we're talking about like entrepreneurship or just goals in general. So many people, you know, have a lack of confidence, don't see themselves following through on certain things because they go at it alone. And they're like, I don't need help, or whether it's their ego or whatever, drop that stuff immediately and understand like, you know what, I can be vulnerable. I can show myself to the world. I can expose, you know, the things you need to improve on. I can expose that to myself, face it, and, you know, go from there. Calling on help is a very real thing, right? And that goes into like therapy and what we said earlier, right?
And it's completely okay. Like it's all right. You know, if you're going through like some adversities in your life and, you know, it's getting overwhelming, just look around. Like there are people out there that care. There's, you know, the internet can be used for a lot of things besides just TikTok, guys, Instagram. Let's start like calling for help and making teams, you know? Because like he said, you are the 5 people that you hang out with. And
I think it's also like
I like
really
the 5 people I
courageous.
hang out with. Yeah.
I think it's also like really courageous for like people to like ask for help, because right now,
definitely.
I mean, not speaking for everyone, but like for males, like I know there used to be males who like don't ask for directions. You go on the market, man. Where's the batteries at? Yeah. I'm not gonna ask any. I'm gonna find it myself. That's the first thing I do. Where's the batteries at?
Exactly. Work smarter, not harder. When there's something that somebody else can do for you, like why would I go out there, learn how to make a logo when it's gonna take me like not even coming out the way I want it to, when I can build connections in college. I built connections in college.
Shout out to Gabe.
Shout out to Gabe. Like he made us our logo and stuff like that. Your friend makes beats. Like bro, there are people out there that are going to help you. So seek help.
It's not how, it's who.
Exactly.
You know, to all these questions, right? It's not how you do this yourself. It's who you can look to, you know, for accountability, to, you know, teach you these things, these practices, whatever it is. It's a huge thing.
Right,
you know.
right.
Do you have any more questions, Julie? I have one last question.
Maybe we have time for one more question. What's up?
Okay, so we're wrapping this up more or less. But, so what are some challenges or things you want the viewers to do starting today to have them become better version of themselves or have better mental health?
I think one challenge that I can give to you guys is to think of 5 things you can celebrate yourself for.
Right. Back to gratitude.
Exactly. Just acknowledgement of your greater self, right? Because once we're able to identify those things, what I can celebrate myself for, right? That cookie jar we create in the back of my mind, what can I lean on? There's David Goggins, he calls it the cookie jar.
The GOAT.
Yeah, so when he goes through tough times, he relies on that cookie jar of excellence, of achievements. If I did this, I can do that, right? So if we can stack those things, recognizing our greatest self, our greatness right now, that will allow you to go out and create greater things for yourself. And you, again, level up every single day, every week, every year. So when you start with those 5 things and recognize, what can I celebrate myself for? You gain an appreciation for yourself. And it's, simply put, that's about it, right? Exactly. Because it all starts inside,
Did you have anything else to add?
In conclusion, guys, just start small, believe in yourself, form a team, and promise you, man, good things will come to you.
My biggest takeaway of this one was
And don't watch porn.
and then don't watch porn. was being able to sit down and be thankful for what you have. I'm not good at that yet. I mean,
after the podcast, what's one thing that you're grateful for right now?
People that I could build a team around and help me build a dream I want to become.
Exactly.
Doing it. Julian's here to help us give his voice on this.
I'm grateful for
platform,
that.
Right? Yeah.
Shout out Julian, baby.
Yuli's able to, be my right-hand man. I'm his right-hand man. We could be co do this together.
We're CEOs.
CEOs.
Nothing but CEOs right here.
Well, basically that concludes our podcast. Julian, do you want to give a shout out to your Instagram or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. You can find me at Julian M Fit23 on Instagram. The brand, you can check it out.
You see the fucking tease?
The tease.
You see the tease?
The cutoff.
Stop playing with us.
Exactly. That's at NXTLVL.co. So, and that's it.
Well, thank you, Julian. We'll see you at the top.
Awesome, man. Awesome.